Hey guys, so here are the notes for section 2, day 2. For this part of the video, we are going to write absolute value functions given a graph. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now remember, the general form for a graph is as so. Y equals A times the absolute value of x minus h plus k. So remember, A represents our slope. So it'll give us the number as well as if we're going to have a negative or not. And then h and k represents our vertex. So I'm going to go ahead and write that so we remember. Okay, so let's look at this graph that they gave to us. The first thing we want to look is to figure out the vertex. Now remember, that's the lonely point, which we can obviously see as -2, 3. That's our vertex. Now our next thing is we want to find the value of the slope, okay? Now you have two ways of doing this to find the value. Either you can use the slope formula, so use 2 points, plug them into the slope formula and find that way, or you can count. I'm going to show you both ways on this one. Let's first use the slope formula, okay? So I'm going to do this. I have my x1, y1, x2, y2. I'm going to take my -3, and I'm subtracting it from 3 all over 0 minus a -2. So this will give us -6 over. Remember, 2 negatives gives us a plus of 2, which gives us -3. Now, we are not going to worry about this being a negative. We really just want to worry about the number that is a 3. So 3 is our slope. The next thing is to determine, well, is a negative or positive? To know this, we have to look at our graph. Is it opening up or down? Since it's opening down, that means we have a negative a value. Negative a value. Okay, now that we have all the aspects we need, we can write our equation. Okay, so first we need to have y equals, don't forget that because we are writing an equation. Okay, remember we have a negative a because our graph is opening down. 3 is our slope. I use the absolute value signs, and then x. Now here, notice that we have a -2 for our vertex. So are we going to write it as x minus 2 or x plus 2? Hopefully you said plus 2. And then for the 3, that's positive, so how are we going to write that? Are we going to write it as a positive 3 or negative? It should be plus. So remember, your h value is always the opposite of what you see, while k is the exact same. So then here would be our equation for this absolute value function. Okay, let's do the next one. So what I would like you guys to do here is go ahead and pause the video and try this on your own. Okay, let's see what you got here. So first, let's identify our vertex. That is going to be the 0, 4. So remember, that's going to be our h and k. And hopefully you guys can see that. That's a little bit sloppy, but that's okay. I think you guys can recognize that. There you go. Okay, now to determine our slope, so the number value. Now notice here that we have two other points with our vertex. We have -5, 0 and 5, 0. It actually did not matter which one you use to find the slope, okay? I'm going to go ahead and do -5, 0, so you can see why we only want to figure out the number and not if it's negative or positive. So I'm going to use the slope formula. Remember, if you want to, you can count it. So this means that we are rising from 0 to 4. So that's 4. And then we go over to 5. So that kind of should give you 4/5. Let's see if we get the same thing when we actually use the formula. Okay, I'm going to do 0 minus 4 and -5 minus 0. So we get -4 over -5, which gives us 4/5. Okay. Now let's determine our a. Now notice that we get a positive slope of 4/5. That's because this line is, if you just look at it, rising. But if we look at the entire function as itself, it is opening down. So that means our a value will have to be negative. So we only find the slope or use the slope formula to find the number, not to see if it's negative or positive. So I'm going to write that down here. So I'm going to say will have negative a because graph opens down. Okay, so now let's write our equation. Do not forget y equals, always important. So we have a negative because the graph opens down. Our number value for the slope is 4/5. We do absolute value of x. Now notice our h is 0. You can put -0 or +0, but it's just easier just to put the absolute value because we can automatically assume that means the h value is 0. And then for the k, we should have +4, because remember, k is exactly as received. So this should be our final answer. Okay, make sure you watch the next two parts of the video. The next one will be writing an absolute value function given a word problem. And then after that, we'll be basically writing the transformations from pre-image to image. Okay, see you guys later.